Shalom. Call halal, Yahweh Bashim Shai, Bahashem, Bakar Kodash. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors unto the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so, now more so than ever. To the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, but be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners among the heathen that look like the heathen. And to the Akwaf that are listening and learning, to you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago. Coming at you with a quick lesson, and this is I'm gonna start in 2nd Ezra 15:1, because that's the time that we're in, and it reads, "Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith Yahweh. And cause them to be written on paper, for they are faithful and true." All right, so the words written in the Bible are faithful and true. The prophecies are popping like popcorn, and I like popcorn. I pop popcorn often, all right? And the prophecies are popping off like that, And let me go grab another scripture. I'm going to go to Revelation, I think it's 19:10, the spirit of prophecy. Yes, Revelation 19:10, and it reads, "And I fell at his feet to worship him, and he said unto me, See thou do it not. I am thy fellow servant, and of thy brethren that have the testimony of Yahushai. Worship God, for the testimony of Yahushai is the spirit of prophecy." So prophesy, prophesy, prophesy. We're supposed to be in the spirit of prophecy. All right. If you're not prophesying, then you're not really doing the work of the Lord. All right. Or you're not doing the work of a prophet of the Lord. All right. Because you got people who the Lord has set up to actually be helps and support the prophet. So I recant that statement. But if you're doing the work of the Lord as a prophet, you will be prophesying. And a lot of these camps aren't bringing out prophecies because the prophecies actually reveal them to be the fakes and phonies that they are. All right, especially men who once had the oil, but that and sold out to the establishment for riches. Guys that ride horses, and and stuff like that. To solemn holy feast, wherein the Lord himself came in on a donkey. This guy comes in on a horse. All right. But anyway, let me go to this article that the beloved brother Dawad Ba sent me. Let me pull this up. And it's an article about the BRICS nations. And the BRICS nations are falling right into prophecy because the nations have to be angry and come against Babylon. These damn things are loud. What's funny is that I grew up in Chicago, and as a kid, you didn't hear this. Well, you heard this was in the South. This sound that you're hearing, you didn't. When I was a kid, the only time I heard this particular insect was in the South, man. These things weren't even indigenous to this, to this part of the country. All right. And I'm in probably the wealthiest neighborhood in the Chicagoland area right now. Matter of fact, I used to teach classes right behind us, about 50 feet behind us. I used to teach groups of classes out here because I had a lot of these rich, arrogant Edomite clients right here in this neighborhood. But most of those rich have moved away. These are low-level rich people that's left here, by the way. These are the low-level guys that and they're the ones with the worst attitudes. But anyway, let's go to this article. I looked up and saw something that reminded me of that. All right. The brother said, let the hammer ring out. Well, then we're going to bring the hammer down on them. Here we go. So this is an article from RT. And I'm going to read, well, this is a pretty long article, but I'm going to read a good portion of it. But it says, Western propaganda machine claims BRICS is a challenge to NATO and a mortal threat. Is this true? And it is and it isn't, because it's not a challenge to NATO. It's really a challenge to the West hegemony grip with the dollar being the reserve currency of the world, and them having that grip on everyone. Because one thing BRICS hasn't done, they haven't set up garrisons and military garrisons in every other countries, in other people's countries and on other people's borders. That's something they haven't done. All right. But it says, since Johannesburg summit, BRICS has become bigger, more influential, and potential more financially independent, should that cause concern. Even 30 years after the end of the Cold War, it is difficult for the Western world to abandon the mentality of that period. Thus, Russia and China are still as credible threats which can be manipulated for intimidation, especially when it comes to enlargement of the BRICS, a bloc in which both Moscow and Beijing play a key role. It is even harder to get rid of the thinking in terms of class struggle, and that's what it comes down to. These arrogant Western Edomites that literally think that their shit doesn't stink, and just think they're above people, and they've lived that way for so long, they can't conceive them not being in front of the line anymore. And as a matter of fact, that being for for most Edomites, most so-called white people, and they're coming to grips with that they're, that's a hard thing for them to come to grips with, that they just don't have the front of the line privileges like that anymore, that they're being called on so many things. All right. But it says, after all, the rich and the poor are still at loggerheads. In this case, the emergence of the alliance against the wealthiest countries is a fresh fodder. BRICS, which was founded in 2009 by Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa joined the club 2 years later, provides excellent material for panic headlines. And I'm going to tell you that the men of the Lord in 2009, when the BRICS formed, we talked about it a lot. And we were telling you that these things that America is going through now, that's happening right now financially, we were talking about these things then. All right, and that the dollar was, and the thing is, though, we thought this was going to happen in 2-3 years, and then all of a sudden 2015 rolled around and we're still going. But after all these years later, it's finally here. The Lord does everything in His time. All right, but it says the group has been described as a challenge to NATO, a new world order, a mortal threat to the West. Now, after organizing summit in Johannesburg, there will be no more such statements. So they're saying, no, we're not. And and this is just a battle. This is a battle to control the narrative, because you have to understand, everyone wants to control the narrative, and the good guy doesn't want to be looked at as the bad guy, and the bad guy doesn't want to be looked at as the bad guy either. But it really doesn't matter, because guess what? They're both bad guys. At the end of the day, they're all bad guys, because they're not for the rule of the Lord. They're completely and totally against that. They're completely and totally against that. So let's go back into the article. And it says, now after the organization summit in Johannesburg, there will be more such statements. This is a fascinating narrative, but the harsh, boring truth is that BRICS does not unite anti-capitalist countries, and even the only de jure communist country in alliance is far removed from Marxist practices. Nor is the BRICS a group of poor countries. The 5 members account of almost a third of the global economy, and the Russia has long been classed as a developed state. In other words, BRICS is not a threat to the West's status, at least not as dramatically as it is portrayed. So, trying to sling dirt on the name and cast mud, because what they are is they're a threat to their hegemony and the control that America has had on the whole world through bullying and through military. Why do you think we set up military posts in all these countries? These military, they're not set up in all these countries just to be there. They're there so we automatically have troops on the ground in case these countries ever try to raise up. Because what you have to understand, there aren't NATO and European Union bases all over America. You see what I mean? And every time those European Union countries, those NATO countries, would be bullying to putting sanctions on Russia or other countries that America deemed a threat simply because America don't like them, but these other countries had dealings with them and needed, and needed that in order for their economies to stay afloat. So you have to, quite frankly, the nations are just tired of it, man. They're tired of it, And that's why eventually what's going to happen is that all the nations are going to shoot, those arrows from one end of the earth to the other. All right? Let me, I lost my place. Let me go back into it. All right, I'm going to just start right here. Why are BRICS not a threat to the NATO? Comparison BRICS with NATO or the Eastern Bloc do not work for a simple reason. The group has no common defense forces, nor common military program. Even joint military exercises are frequent and involve only a fraction of the participants. You hear that? So BRICS is not, doing military exercises in everybody's backyard. Doing military exercises just a few feet across, a line that separates, international waters from hostile waters. They're not doing that. You know who's doing that? America is doing that. NATO is doing that. All right. So once again, they're saying all, the media is saying all these things about BRICS, but BRICS isn't threatening militarily in that fashion, the same as America has been. All right. But it says the Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei, forgive me if I screw his name up, Ryabkov says that this was not particularly important for the Union. According to him, no one sees the need to chase the five-party format. Member states agree to military cooperation and eventual individual biases outside the framework of the bloc. In addition, the position of the participant state on armed conflicts and articulated by some of them both at the summit of South Africa and in the run-up to the indictive. China's President Xi Jinping, for example, recalled the global security initiative he had previously proposed, which called for a collective approach to global security issues. So they're trying to include everyone. So basically, what they really want is peace. But America, look, NATO and America and the West has proved that they don't want peace over and over again. What they want is absolute control without challenge. And that's just what it is. They don't want fair checks and balances. All right? And anyone who can stand up to them or rival them or even question them is labeled, an enemy, or labeled, a communist or something to that effect, a Marxist. They're labeled something that's negative, right? When that's not always the case. But you got to remember, we here in the West, well, not we, as you and me, we have to control the narrative. We don't want the truth to really come out, because when the truth comes out, it reveals people for who they really are. All right. But anyway, that's enough on that. I'm gonna go to the scriptures now. Let's get a couple scriptures and I'm gonna start with one that comes out often, because another thing that America and the West is completely guilty of, that the BRICS nations aren't as much, is the destruction of the elements. This is with all these orchestrated fires and all, and the pollution and the bad food that comes out of the West. As a matter of fact, a lot of European nations, including NATO members, don't even allow certain foods and things that come from America over to their countries. But this is Revelation 11 and 18, and it reads, "And the nations were angry, and the wrath is come, and the time of the dead, that they should be judged. And thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants, the prophets and the saints, and to them that fear the name, with the name of Yahweh." All right, not Christ and Most High blessed. All right, small and great, and should destroy them which destroys the earth. So these people that are destroying the earth, the trees, the air, the water, everybody's sick. The Lord is going to visit them, and the majority of those people that are doing this are coming out of Western countries, and that's just a fact. All right, I'm not saying all, but the majority, because when all the nations had their time to rule, but it wasn't until Esau, Edom got into rulership where the earth actually began to be poisoned, and the air you actually breathe is making people sick, keeping them full of mucus, and then they'll call it a C word and say that they need medicine against their will. The air, the food, the water, everything is just tainted under this man rule, and the world is, quite frankly, tired of it. They really are. Grab another couple scriptures. And in times past, you never saw nations stand up to America. This is Isaiah 14:10, and it reads, all they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also becomes weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? So, what you're seeing is these nations speak up and come against the West, and they never have before. Because, quite frankly, just like the average American is getting angry at their own government and ready to go against it and not comply. All right, that's the census. When you're watching social media that's coming from the average American, they feel like that their government is tyrannical and it's time for a new one. That's just what many Americans feel that way. All right, and why shouldn't they? When what's going on in their country, okay? But eventually, what's going to happen is that they're all going to lay waste to this place. They're all going to fire those arrows that fire from one end of the earth to the other, man. It's inevitable. All right. What am I looking for? Here it is. Right chapter, wrong verse. Okay. Just forgive me, Salakia, for a moment. There it is. I think what I'm looking for. Yeah, there we go. It's in Peter's. This is 2 Peter 2:3. And it reads, I'm going to read, I'm sorry, 2 Peter 2, the second Peter, the 3rd chapter, the 10th verse. All right, it says, but the day of Yahweh will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. And the earth also and the works therein shall be burned up. And so what can burn up, the very tree in front of you? Just make it disappear. Make the elements melt. Make the concrete, which shouldn't be here in the first place, make it just melt and disappear. The metal on this bench that, where I'm sitting on, the metal on my bicycle, just make it disappear. The only thing can do that is ICBM nuclear fire. And those are the arrows that are spoken of that are going to fire from one end of the earth to the other. And it all and the nations are all going to point it at here at Babylon. All right, including American allies. All right, including the NATO nations. Everybody's going to turn on this place, man. All right, it says, seeing that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness? All right, this is how you should be, speaking about godly things. And godly things are what? Speaking on the destruction that's coming to Babylon. And it says, looking forward and hasten unto the coming of the day of God, wherein the heavens being on fire, all right, the air is going to be so hot, it's going to burn up the oxygen. Everything's going to burn, man. All right, Lake Michigan is less than 1,000 feet away. If you see that overpass in the distance, straight ahead, on the other side of that is the lake. All right, and Lake Michigan is one of the biggest lakes in the world. It's also one of the deepest. There are places in the Lake Michigan out toward the center that are as deep as the ocean. You got places in Lake Michigan that go. There's more than a mile deep, man. That's pretty deep. All right, and it says, looking for and hasting unto the coming of the day of God. All right, and like I said, there's going to be nothing left. So what kind of heat can make that lake disappear? Can make it actually evaporate? Thermonuclear fire, 200,000 plus the fire from the chariots. It's going to, man, it's going to be bad. It says, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Let me get one more. All right, because another thing that's happening militarily wise, from a heavily military position, is the chariots that they keep fraudulently and falsely and fraudulently calling UFOs and UAPs. Those are the chariots of Israel. Those are the Air Force, the air support to the 144,000. All right. And this is Zechariah 5:1, and it says, and I turned and lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll. And he saith unto me, what seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roll, and the lift thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof is 10 cubits. Then he said unto me, this is the curse that goeth forth over the whole face of the earth. For everyone that stealeth shall be cut off on this side. And who's the biggest thief? Esau, Edom. All right. They steal whole countries and heritages. All right. It says, shall be cut off according to it, and everyone that swears shall be cut off as on that side. All right. And I will bring it forth, saith Yahweh of hosts, and it shall enter into the house of the thief, and to the house of him that sweareth falsely by my name. Did they not fraudulently and falsely write in God we trust, and also blaspheme and change the name of the Lord? All right. It says, and it shall remain in the midst of his house, and shall consume it with the timber thereof and the stones thereof. All right. So it's going to be no stone, no trees, nothing left. So with that, I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakak, Wadash, Wa Abba, Babal, Kwam, Yasharallah.